Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band are hosting their party. Eli and Morgan were thoroughly embarrassed before making their way inside. Valentyne witnessed a fake fight between Keiros and Versaille manning the front entrance, and Attikus charmed the Duke on a balcony. But can the team keep the Duke alive and safe when they're facing a hidden threat? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From the audio logs of the Marnie's song. Well, Grimly, I must say, I really fucking wish we'd got off this ship. Attikus, you are walking the Duke through the former estate of Guinevere Bolensong. You've lit his cigarette. He has just asked you about having to kill a man. And you can see in his eyes how deeply distasteful this is to him. Of course, this is something the two of you know. This upper floor is kind of dark. It's not well lit. It's not really part of the bonanza. There aren't like cool Price is Right things to come kind of see up here. You can almost think of this a little bit as where all the guest rooms that aren't used are. So it's just sort of an empty-ish space. So you've got some privacy. You've got some room. The guests aren't up here. And the two of you are kind of walking through these dimly lit rooms, essentially haunting this now abandoned estate. So he looks at you with almost a sense of pleading, wanting to hear that this isn't the case. How does Attikus respond to the Duke?
Attikus will, seeing this look on his face, Attikus as a lifetime soldier, this is not a big deal to him, but understanding that he has to win the Duke's heart is trying to like figure out a way to talk about this without being like, just do it. Like, what's the problem here?
I'm going to do the killing anyway. So why are you so emotional?
Yeah. You can speak to me about this, how killing someone, how you feel about that.
And he takes a long drag off his low stick. And you can tell he's, in a way, trying to psych himself up for this and also trying to figure out how to navigate this. He's in a weird position because he is the focus of all of this pageantry and kind of has to have a certain vibe as a result. And you can see the struggle in him. Again, he hasn't really been sleeping. He looks a little haggard. So he takes a long drag and just says, "It seems to me like such a waste, truly, to be hunting humans for sport in a world where we've already seen so much tragedy." I mean, he kind of like puts his hand on the wall. He says, Guinevere Bolensong had such plans for this place, such desires to help elevate it, and yet she's dead. We've had 2 attempts, at least, on people's lives. We had an uprising for the Emperor's sake. King Frederick is many things, but a good ruler, I fear he is not. Greybridge has become nothing but these breads and circuses and entertainments, and yes, it is grey and gloomy here all year round, and yes, there is a tremendous amount of prosperity, but to what end? We're just sitting on our piles of money, moving pieces around a board, while tragedy occurs and the rest of the galaxy carries on without us. I mean, he gestures to your arm. He says, You've been out there. Surely there are greater concerns than who's boffing who and who puts on the best show.
Can I speak to you plainly?
Please.
I completely agree. But there is a responsibility here that you are talking about, the responsibility of leading and ruling the people. And the whole point of all of this is for you to become a leader with someone else after the king's time, right?
He takes a long drag off his low stick. Can you please roll me a Let's go with perception. I'm going to say difficulty 3. I'm going to bump one of those up to a red, just because he's highborn, so you get the usual nonsense with that.
What is our story point situation?
If he's using a story point for that,
He's not. That's just purely
2 for us, 3 for Tom.
Thank you.
Classic box.
I'll use a story point just because, this is Attikus' alone time with the Duke. This is where this kind of shit matters.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to
What are you
add...
doing this for?
Yeah, if there's ever a time.
Yeah.
I'll add a setback for it just being dark. It's hard to see his features and the glow of a grim dark cigarette. I'll give you a boost for the fact that he seems to trust you, and this does feel like an honest conversation. He's not actively trying to deceive you. It's just there's other factors at play.
Okay. All right, then I've got the pool. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, you all right there, Laura?
No.
Just feelings?
I just looked at the dice and made me sad.
It's fine. Yeah, it's great. It is a triumph, followed by 2 failures and 3 threat. And I guess actually they don't net out. They all sit in their individual categories. So yeah, 1 triumph, 2 failures, 3 threat. That's wild.
Cool.
It only canceled out some of the advantage that I had. So I had more threat, but yeah.
Okay. The Duke is Abaddon. No. So. All right. That's such a weird spread.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pass the threat on. Yeah, we'll just bump threat to next.
Not my problem.
Setback die the next roll.
Unless it's your next roll.
That'll be my problem.
Either way. In terms of the failure, all that means is you can't get a read on him. Attikus, this is deeply, deeply into you wish you had a Valentyne or a Morgan. Yeah. I think you and Eli would both be kind of out of your depths with just trying to read the complexity of facial expressions while someone is feeling a feeling. So you're not able to catch that.
Okay.
However, the triumph, he smiles, sort of a dark shadow crosses his features, but then he smiles and he puts a hand on your shoulder out of the triumph. And even though you're not able to read his expression, you've clearly impressed him in some way.
All right.
As I think what we'll say with the triumph. And he says, yes, of course, you're right. How will killing this man assist that?
Well, killing him is not for us. It's for all the people. It's this big to-do, right? Putting on a show. We call it sport, but it's, what would you call it? Spectator sport.
And takes a drag and says, do you think this person we're hunting deserves to die?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because he's a soldier.
We're hunting a soldier?
He's a soldier for his cause. Yeah. He's
So-
willing to die, and he's willing to kill. So, what would you have it be?
He kind of exhales a plume of smoke in kind of the dim light and takes a couple steps away from you and says, my understanding of the situation, Lord Van Houten, is that he was one of the rebels who had some issues with how we do things here at Greybridge, and as a result attempted the lives of his betters. Is that correct?
That is my understanding as well, yes.
Yes, and one of the ones you dragged out of the hunting reserve, is that correct?
I believe so.
And you call this man a soldier?
I do. Call myself a soldier too.
Well, yes.
Wasn't always one.
Right.
I had all this.
But you fight for the Imperium.
That's right,
You
my
fight for
cause.
the Emperor's name.
Indeed.
But you enlisted.
I did.
Do you think this fellow enlisted, or was he simply trying to do what he thought was best?
What's the difference?
I mean, in my mind, that is the difference between a soldier and just someone fighting for a cause. In any event, and you can tell, like, whatever goodwill you'd earned is rapidly cooling with this. He just stubs his cigarette on the wall and kind of considers it for a moment, and then uses his thumb to rub the ash stain off of it. And he says, "Well, I'll tell you what, Lord Van Houten. Of all of the competitors for my hand in this ridiculous competition, you are currently my forerunner. However, I must say I find this attitude understandable given your military bearing, but somewhat distasteful. So if you seek to win my favor in this particular arena, I want you to get that man out alive."
Duke, that's quite a request. We are going to be vidcast live, hunting this man down in the garden maze. Again, spectator sport. The king wishes his death to be captured and broadcast for everyone to see. I will do what I can, but you ask a lot to defy your king, our king.
I was going to make you roll for this, but it's a good argument. Okay, yeah. So the Duke's features harden somewhat, and he says, "Yes, of course, we can't disappoint the king. Forgive my moment of weakness. We will show no mercy to this man, I suppose." And with that, he just sort of wanders off towards the stairs, looking back over his shoulder, but in that kind of I'm not fully turning around way, where it's just kind of a almost like a brief aside. They do it in video games a lot when someone's on their way out the door.
Okay.
It's the Metal Gear over the shoulder, like,
Sure.
I'm not going to look at you, but thing. And he says, "For King and Greybridge, I suppose. We must all do what we must." And he disappears down the stairs.
Can I call out to him?
Yeah.
I'll say,
Wixrope, wait.
Okay, well, that one I am going to need a roll
Yeah.
for.
I'm trying to drop the
He's going
honorific
for a
and
brooding.
see.
He's going for a Pride and Prejudice exit, and I don't know if you got the stones. Yeah. So let's go with without ruining what you're going to say next. What are you? Is this like? Are you going to try and charm him? Or are you going to try and coerce him?
Not coercion.
I think it's probably charm then, to be honest, or like I guess leadership.
I would say charm or leadership.
Yeah. Okay.
They're both presence, and presences doo-doo.
In terms of your intent, though, which feels more
I think leadership.
leadership. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. So it is your problem. You get that one setback that you're so happy to cast off.
It's my problem.
I'll give you a boost for it being leadership rather than charm, because I think you may lack presence as a sort of like trained skill, but in terms of a military bearing and that sort of thing, I think in a world of very soft people, someone with the military edge in their voice is probably going to attract more attention. Story point system is at 2 and 3. I'm going to spend
1 and 4 because Tyler spent 1.
1 and 4. That's right. All right. Well, let's bring it back to the OG. I'm going to spend 1. I'm going to say this is a difficulty of 4. He really fucking wants to leave. So that'll be 1 red.
You are spending 1?
Yeah. Yep. So bump it up to red. So 1 red and 3 purple. I'll give you a boost for knowing this is the job. I feel like that's if Attikus has a chance to do the job, he does it as hard as he can.
Yeah.
So there's probably a hint of desperation in your voice that that manifests as like a strong urge to solve it, that Wixarp would probably interpret as a strong urge to like make him stay, not I have a job to do. I think that's what I would make a case for. Anybody else want to make a case for anything else here?
My gamer brain would say don't waste the story point on a pool that is so stacked against you, but fuck it, I'm going to spend a story point.
That's what they're there for, baby. Let's roll those bones.
Cool, no problem. Easy peasy. This is a game for babies. What the fuck? A success and a threat. Did not think that would happen.
Hot damn. Oh my God.
There we go. That's why
Jesus.
dice. So he pauses. He doesn't turn around. He just does that thing where he's still staring down the stairs, but he does stop.
I tire of these games as you do. However, they are an unfortunate and costly means to what I believe to be a better end for everyone.
And he smiles kind of sadly. And this time he does legitimately look over his shoulder. And he looks at you almost with pity. And he says, "It makes my heart glad to hear you say that. I hope you will still feel that way when all of this is done."
I will.
And the sad smile kind of grows a bit more grim, and he says, "We shall see, but thank you." And with that, he heads down the stairs, but less I'm storming off and more contemplative. So you feel like you've rebalanced the scale on Wickstrop as he disappears back down the stairs. Meanwhile, downstairs, Morgan, you have been sent into change because you showed up in white to a wedding, and Valentyne gave you the business about it. The good news is, with the party in full swing, there's a lot of nobles kind of wandering through the house playing Price is Right with varying degrees of capability, largely because Valentyn's riches are fairly old. So there's a lot of, I guess, me at an antique shop where I'm like, this could be very valuable, or it could just be kind of old. I don't know. So you're watching a lot of kind of new money and lower houses, those who didn't rebel and get thrown out of a ship, wander around and guess the prices of things. It weirdly creates beautiful social cover for someone like Morgan, in that you're basically walking through like a bazaar or a silent auction, and there's just lots of like chatting. There's also just a lot of tremendous amounts of cattiness about all the Ballonsong stuff. And because there's no one left to dispute it, it's very easy to shit on like the dead rich people. So you're able to make your way inside. But the good news, Valentyne, for you, and Eli probably for you as well, is this amount of chaos actually gives you a lot more freedom to talk, because there aren't just people constantly watching you. There are certainly, hired goons from Van Houten around. And obviously there's like a heavy presence of Royal Guard around as well, particularly after the shenanigans of the hunt. But it's the anonymity of a very crowded space. Also, Morgan, particularly for you, your standings in the race for the Duke's Heart are so low that it would be different if, like Versailles was walking around doing stuff. People are watching him actively and trying to gain his favor in case he wins and all that sort of shit. But for you, you're able to move fairly clearly. So you make your way into Valentine Manor. Valentyne, you'd sent her in. Did you have any intent to follow? Or was
Valentyne's plan was to follow, because he couldn't have Shadow Squad, which means he would just confirm the perimeter, add twice as many people at the entrance so that everybody gets checked, and then fuck off so he can shadow her, because if he can get her isolated and alone in a room, he can make an approach that would be believable under his cover of just being mean to her and try to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Great. So, Morgan, you find your way to one of Lady Valentyn's kind of dressing rooms, where a number of dresses have been laid out, and various outfits, almost in a museum style way, where some of them are outward facing, and then there's certainly closets full of outfits. As you recall, her style was very kind of, in modern parlance, like fancy horse rider type gear.
Right.
So there's a huge variety of stuff, particularly knowing Morgan's aversion to dresses. It's not like you have to go like full Wall Market and FF7 and just like wear a dress you hate. You can find a lot of different outfits that might suit you. They are, of course, all way too fancy, but c'est la vie. It's also a room that is less attractive to the crowd. People do come and go through it, but there's cool, rich stuff to look at. The clothes everyone has kind of seen, and the fancier stuff is up in her bedroom, which is a huge spot for people. Everyone is fucking going through a bedroom because it's fun to rifle through people's like private stuff. So this like weird kind of, if you came in from, you know, being out back and shooting or being outside and doing some work, or working on the ships, as she would have been, very easy to just kind of throw on an outfit. It's almost the equivalent of like a coat closet, but it's rich people, so it's a room. So people do come and go, but you're able to, of course, just kind of hold your tongue when that happens. Yeah. But Valentyne, I think that'd be a safe spot to find Morgan. And Eli, in terms of you, would you be with them or would you be out patrolling?
I would be doing whatever Morgan tells me to do.
So Morgan,
what
would you have told Eli to do?
All right. Well, before going into the house, then it would be Toby's up on a roof looking around, because our secondary objective now is we have to find and protect the Duke.
Yeah.
So I think it would be put Eli on that, because he's the muscle out and about. He's going to be able to do more about that. So it would be just, Clarence, make sure to keep your eyes out for the Duke. And if I see him first, I'll let you know.
Oh, this is so ridiculous. Yes, I'm on it. And he will just stalk off. Trying to like stay as small as he can, and just trying to like fade into like the walls, and just trying to like scan everywhere. He's going to go through rooms just...
Gotcha. Okay. We'll loop back around to that once we've dealt with the Morgan situation. Incidentally, though, for you, this is also, you know, one servant from a failing competitor.
No one fucking cares.
Yeah, no one cares. And also, like, you're military. You've been on the ship. You've been on the ship when fancy people were on the ship. And it's like everyone who serves on the ship whose name isn't the captain is just completely ignored. So, okay, great. So, Morgan, you're in this kind of dressing room, and Valentyne, you follow her in.
Yeah, Valentyne would make his approach there. He would bring 2 of his security goons and put them outside to make sure no one came inside, with the strong implication that this is the chance to make polite threats to someone outside of the public eye, so don't let anybody in. The moment he got into the room, Morgan, he would just raise one finger to you to make sure that you were quiet. And he would take Eugene out and let him float up, and he would take out an Auspex, and he just wants to scan the room and scan Morgan to see if he can find any metallic signatures, kind of any bugs, any listening devices, that kind of stuff.
All right, let's do tech use, please.
Tech use, okay.
Which I believe is our usual Eugene.
Yep, we've used tech use before, or perception if we're using the Auspex for Valentyne.
All right, I'd buy that. So fine, let's go with perception. You get all your usual Eugene bonuses. Morgan, I'm going to add a boost from the work you've done with Toby to scan your own bomb situation. I know, Valentyne, you're not specifically after that, but I think it's kind of a network share piece that would make sense as a boost. Tyler had a threat from his previous escapades that would just be passed forward to the next roll, so that'll go to this as well.
Yep. What's my difficulty?
I'm going to say difficulty of 2. This is a controlled space that's been swept a bunch. And again, if the bombs become a target for you in this, like Morgan's done a bunch of thinking about and pointing to and everything else. So it's not like, what? What's this? It's literally just like...
Yeah, I was going to say, Morgan, I might pitch a boost if you can point to where the bombs are. Because he's scanning.
She's only got the one, so it's
great. Yeah, she would definitely do that while staying quiet.
For Morgan. It's easier to scan Morgan. Eli's a whole day's worth of work.
Yeah,
Eli's just playing operation.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what happens. 3 successes and 6 advantage.
Okay. Well, you can figure out how you want to spend that advantage.
Great. I have a narrative pitch if we want to roll.
All right,
this.
Sure.
So we've had an Auspex be used before, and it said it couldn't figure out whether the bombs were transmitting. But I have Eugene, who is a literal audio transmitter, whereas there wasn't an Eagle before. So if Valentyne can scan the room, confirm no bugs, find the bombs, and figure out whatever signals are being put through, he'd actually low-tech it because he's not a smart tech person, and just run those feeds through Eugene to see if he could hear anything, and just gesture to Morgan to, like, talk.
Yeah, Morgan is just... It is rather unseemly that you come in here while I am trying to change.
It's just trying the transmissions, just waving through again to see if he can pick up Morgan's voice. Because if he can hear Morgan through any of these blasting through Eugene, then it's sending audio. If not, theoretically, no audio. Does that work for you, Tom?
It does.
Great.
It works better than having to track 6 advantage and spend weird investment ways for the future. So yes, you're able to do that. Eugene doesn't pick up anything off of Morgan's voice. These clearly seem to be just kind of, the radio transmission piece is purely to remote detonate.
Yeah,
but there doesn't seem to be any.
Great. Would he be aware this is an explosive or no with the Auspex scan?
I think, again, in terms of like storybooking this a bit, Morgan would be able to be like,
it's a reasonable leap for him to assume if it's been put into somebody anyways. But
yes, I think with the scans, it would show up as like a small metal thing that receives transmission. Probably like the load charge is a, I'm just imagining like the little like line that comes out to scanning information from every sci-fi movie. So the fact that it has explosives in it is probably something that your gear would pick up, given that the Inquisition would want to know.
Yep, that makes sense. And Valentyne would just lower the finger, lower the Auspex, kind of put Eugene back inside his jacket and say, "No one can hear us right now. So you've got a bomb in you. Report."
Yes, the bomb is a present from the king. He is increasingly erratic. Did a copious amount of drugs in front of me. He did not take well to us trying to bribe the warden. I admit to overplaying my hand, and I take responsibility for that.
Excellent. What's happened outside of that?
Outside of that, Eli also has 3 bombs in him. The king today has charged us with keeping track of the Duke and making sure that no one shoots him and we shoot him first. We have been staying away. Thankfully, Lizzo Lizardman has given us a favor of sorts to help us out in that avenue. I told her that our houses were mad at each other because I squirreled away to romance Voidstain. That seemed to please the gossip columnist.
Interesting. And Valentyne is staring into your eyes. And it's an intense thing to experience with his robotic eyes because there's no take on what is going on. However, he is just thinking. And in a normal human's eyes, you would be able to see him interpreting all of this data. But for Valentyne, it's just a blank, pleasant expression looking into your face.
Did you pull up your Daredevil mask?
Yeah, he pulled that up so that he could have a conversation.
If it's just standing there with
Actually,
an expressionless
no, he wouldn't do
Daredevil
that because
mask.
he wouldn't think about it. He doesn't make moves to make people comfortable. So yeah, it's just a Daredevil mask staring you in the eyes for a solid 20 seconds. And he just says, "All right, so we lost the Chaos Space Marine, which was traded, I assume, in exchange for your lives with the bombs involved."
Yes, precisely. Also, it seems that Forrest Pollard and the king are not in as great terms as it seems. He did not seem to want the Space Marine to know about that chaotic body.
Well, unfortunately for him, I gave a report that sort of cleared that up. So they're at odds, which also explains why my reports to Forrest Pollard have not been making their way to the king. Interesting division to make note of.
Another fact that I am on the track of is Lizzo Lizardman seems to be potentially Vernalia's Venom Blight servitor, or at least I heard their voice coming from it, which would explain all of the tech abilities.
Valentyne's just standing there for another second as this starts getting added to his plan factor. Are there any other missing facts that I would need to know at this point? Because now he's like, fuck, I have to adjust my plans again. We have more information.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yes, it just seems very odd to me that the king would be worried about the Duke here and assign me to try and bodyguard him instead of all of his royal guard.
Yes, that's interesting, but I can't control that. So I'm going to need to give you some marching orders because we're going to have to maintain this distance. You've clearly become both a criminal element and allied with the king, which is most useful. Also sets you up to be a possible fall person. Hopefully we'll avoid that.
Yes.
We will need to arm you. Do you have your rifle?
Unfortunately, I could not bring it to this party. I have it back at the location which we were staying, but I have no more ammo.
That is a problem we might be able to solve. I can set you up immediately after this conversation to have about 5 minutes where there will be no guards on the armory inside this building. You can search it. I don't know what's there. You may need clearance to alter the ammunition that can be discovered for it to be useful for you, but I would rather have a sniper out in the midst than not. At this point, we have been forced, Attikus and I, to play the game straight. We don't have the maneuverability, and we are being too observed to be able to carry out any internecine warfare, which means you are going to need to do that on our behalf. The general marching orders are we need to weaponize Lizzo Lizardman against one of the other candidates. Bobestein seems to think that we were the ones who assassinated Guinevere Bolensong, which means question marks there. Keiros and Versaille, their alliance seems to be fracturing, but they are still working together. Frankly, we're going to have to play this game by the rules, and I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of these other conspiracies wrapping things up, and at this point, I don't care about any of them. I would bomb this world as soon as I would look at it. If you have the chance to influence events, assassinate the other romantic candidates, however you need to do it. I don't want them alive. I don't want you caught doing it if it can be avoided. I don't want you exchanging your lives for one of theirs unless you believe it will ensure the victory of Attikus. Otherwise, if you get a chance to put a knife in them, do it. I'm done playing.
Understood. Lizzo Lizardman also tipped their hand to me when I was talking about fearing for Voidstain's life. And they said that it was 2 people who made that attempt on his life and burned down the house. And I can only assume it is 2 of the other candidates. So that at least gives me good reason in their eyes to go after them.
Yes, my strong bet would be Keiros and Versaille. They are still working together, and the Bobestein seems horrified by this attack on the lower nobles, which would suggest if there were 2 separate conspiracies, he may be on the plebeian side of this conflict.
That makes sense.
If I can, I'll get Attikus to challenge him to a duel if he makes any further statements against this. That should be rather short and work in our favor. We have this plan. These things are in place. We'll have to work separately. All avenues are on the table. We have to maintain this cover of our overall conflict because it'll enable you to move further and in the actions of the king. We'll keep the Duke alive. It's the only play we have. If things become tremendously more hostile, I will let you know. He would pass over microbeads because if they've got an encrypted microbead, it'd be like, only in case of emergencies. The world's paranoid enough. People are definitely scanning things, but that's an option. Is there anything I'm missing? Do you have any thoughts yourself?
That all makes sense to me, and I will play this straight and see if an opportunity presents itself.
Excellent.
And Morgan's going to take one of the big dresses because she's like, maybe I can hide a gun under it.
All right. What does the big dress look like?
She's wearing her original outfit was a sheer shirt over top of a skin tight suit. So I think she's still wearing the skin tight suit. So it's a dress that covers as much as possible. Looks very old fashioned and frilly. And long, probably blue with roses on it or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. So as you exit the room, you're just getting looks of it's the equivalent of showing up in someone's grandmother's dress.
Yes.
Because it probably was. And just a lot of oh my words. But again, like you're not taking social damage from it anymore because
they expect this of me.
They do. Yeah. They're like, oh, she's an off-worlder and she probably thinks this looks cute. Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
I was going to say, as you change, Valentyne quickly writes something out, and he gives it to you on the way out. And it's a basic cipher that can be used for a letter. So if you want to do something less, that you don't need to use an encrypted microbead for, you can write just an insulting letter to Attikus, and he'll know which letters to pull to read a basic message from within it. So again, low-tech solutions
Clarence
to low-tech
is
problems.
Eat that later.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be so annoying. But he'll hand that to you on the way out.
Weird poops later today.
And he will leave the room before you do, just to clarify how this will happen. He'll go down and take the guards who are on the armory and tell them to trade out with guards at the door.
Sure.
And they've seen Valentyne, all the guards have seen him do this enough paranoidally to make sure that nobody who's getting bribed knows where they are stationed, knowing that exchange will take the time that he's buying Morgan to get access.
Only catch with that is there would definitely be Royal Guard who weren't assigned to it by you, but who are standing near the armory, particularly since it was searched by the royals following Gwen's death and the threat of bombs. So there's 2 Royal Guard down there as well. So you can dismiss your guard, but how do you deal with them?
He would dismiss his, and then knowing that there were Royal Guard there now, Valentyne has this strange ability that he doesn't use that often, but he sometimes does, called Blather.
I thought we might get a blather.
So his goal, he's going to have one of the servants, because they're running through the palace with all the food, and when he sees Morgan coming outside, he's going to trip a servant with a massive tray to just make it spray food across the floor, and then he's just going to fucking tear into them as the major domo of the house as a blather action to just get those guards' attention on him and this servant rather than Morgan approaching.
Cool. So let's do a combo then. I need your blather roll, which I don't know the mechanics of, but I know you do. So we'll get that, and then Morgan will take a stealth roll from you as well.
So it is an opposed deception check against the guards.
Check against the guards.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh, the rare dice pool getting constructed on Tom's end.
Yeah, I know. I've got to open the app and everything. What do these dice symbols mean? Okay. Since it's opposed, we have no difficulty, I believe.
Correct. We just see who succeeds more. I have a triumph and 5 successes.
I have a success and 5 advantage. So I'm basically saying we're basically the same person. We're my royal guard minions are basically as cool as you. So yeah, they see it, and you know.
I was going to say, I think I have the pitch with the triumph.
Okay.
Valentine's got this. How dare you? The king's eyes are on this. This is so offensive to the duke, to me, to this world. I need you to execute this man. And he just pulls up this person and marches over the royal guards and is like, you represent the king. This is an embarrassment to the king. Execute this man. He needs to die. Die for his crimes against you, against me, and against this household. Death to this man. And he's just ordering these guards to murder, to kill a man in a hallway.
We can skip the stealth check. I think the triumph buys you ammo. You just it's you know the equivalent of people in any like grocery store sweepstakes game where they just like walk through with a cart and just shovel things.
Yeah.
So just with your massive dress, which has been altered, I should say, to have many pockets, because Guinevere would wear fancy old thing, but would also be like, fuck this. So you're able to just sweep ammo into the pockets of the dress.
Great.
And I think your own rifle isn't here, but you're able to take one of Guinevere's hunting.
If we want the hunting rifle from our previous adventure that was taken, I have the stats for you.
Great.
Hunting
Perfect.
rifle.
Oh, man, that is
you.
the most useful cue card we've ever made for this show. I normally rip them up immediately.
Getting passed around all over the place.
So again, it's not the best, but it bullets
Great.
come out, which is what you need. And meanwhile, the royal guard are standing there, and she just kind of looks at the guy and says, well, I mean, my lord, I understand, but like it would seem to me that the king would want to see this. And the other guard's like, what are you talking about? You've been instructed to do a murder. We should do the murder. She says, no, but like the king really likes stuff like this, and I don't want to be mad that we shot him without him looking at him. So they're just like, the blathering continues, and the servant is just like, oh shit, man, I'm sorry. I didn't see your legs, sir. I'm so sorry.
Valentine is just buying Morgan time, which means he's totally fine if this dude gets executed. He's just leaning in as hard as possible to this entire
Yeah, they also don't know if you have the
wanted
authority.
to destroy the planet. Who cares if one single person died?
Weirdly, it's the guards who are having a hard time with this.
100%.
It's they're debating the logistics of it. So Morgan, you sweep bullets into your dress. You've got a rifle, and just as you make your way up the stairs, you just hear a single shot ring out, echoing off the walls as you make your exit.
Thank you, appreciate it. And Valentine turns and goes out a different exit to the outside.
And one of the guards eats some of the food and says, honestly, I think it's a kind of a good thing they dropped this tray. This isn't very good. Meanwhile, upstairs, Eli, you are on the hunt for hunters.
Yes.
So I'm going to need I would say...
For the Duke and hunters.
Yes. Let's go with either
I would say vigilance.
Yeah, I take vigilance. I'd buy
Probably
vigilance.
be what it is, because he's keeping an eye out for anyone who's looking like too sweaty or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was running through the other options and I was like, no, you're not really that kind of character. So yeah, vigilance I think works.
Who's looking like they're paying attention, like who's playing the game to see like they seem like they're doing another job, but they're actually distracted.
100%.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, I like that a lot. So yeah, let's go with that. I'm going to say difficulty of 4, just because it's a lot of people. You are but one Clarence.
Yep.
So difficulty of 4. However, you get a boost for just how fucking silly these people are to you. It's very easy. Like weirdly, this kind of deception, if they're lying to you, very hard to see through it. But this kind of someone is, pulling at their collar because they're clearly up to something would read very, very cleanly to you. This is a very obvious thing. So they're bad at that.
He had to keep order on his ship. Like that was part of what it was. It was looking for dissent within the ranks. Like that's what was part of his job. So
well, and also these people are bad at hiding that specific thing because it's not common for them. So boost for that. I'd give you a boost for the ship discipline. I think I'd buy that as a separate boost. I'll give you one additional boost for the amount of Royal Guard on site. This is a weird thing. It just fucked over Valentyne and Morgan a bit, but it actually makes your job a bit easier because if they're a Royal Guard, you don't need to be looking as closely at that area because if someone's going to pull something, they wouldn't be standing near Royal Guard.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's what we're seeing at 2 and 3.
Okay. I think I'll just roll.
All right.
4 advantage.
4 advantage.
The shoulder drop. The drop in the shoulders.
I mean, it wasn't a failure, but it wasn't a success.
Yeah. So Eli, there's just too many people. You're just having a real hard time with this. That said, you also don't see, there's not the one person sitting there with a rattling glass whose arm is clearly holding a shotgun or anything. But there's just a lot of people. You also notice that the Duke isn't present because he's currently upstairs talking to Attikus.
Yeah.
So that also weirdly kind of lowers the stakes on this because they couldn't kill him if they wanted to because he's just physically not here. That said, you've got a bunch of advantage but no successes. So yeah, I can't give you anything yet. I think it's frustrating to you because on a ship, at least the quarters are so confined that you can sort of figure out very easily. Whereas here it's
more contained space.
Yeah.
So I'll pass 2 boost on then to the next friendly.
Sounds good. Okay. So Morgan, you come back out in your dress to again just like little snide comments here and there, but you're riding you've got a gun again.
Yep.
Valentyne didn't execute you, and you're free to speak. I imagine you'd find Eli to fill him in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would try to find Eli. Obviously, we can't talk if he's in a crowded room or where there's a lot of people around, but she would meet back up to him. And actually, he brought paper with him, so she would get that pad of paper out of his chest and write down on a note and say, "We've made contact. There's no microphones, but we have our marching orders." And she'll give it back to him. "Did you find the Duke?"
Not yet.
"Well, let's keep looking."
Split up.
All right.
And with that, you both kind of melt back into the crowd as the Duke steps out of Balancing Manor. And everyone kind of, there's some gasps because how the fuck did he get in there? But also you see Versailles just like clutch. He doesn't break a glass because I don't think he's that strong. But just like one of you is near enough to him that you see like the glass tremble a little bit in rage that the Duke was clearly like chatting with Van Houten away from everyone. And the Duke is also kind of making a show of this. Like he's not being stealthy about where he was. But there's whispers and gasps, much like Laura makes anytime the Duke and Attikus talk. There's just like some people who are legitimately shipping them at this point. So there's that kind of reaction. But the time is rapidly approaching for the rest of the shows of art. And Birno kind of like climbs up on top of a table and just like clinks a glass obnoxiously long, like doing like full, like, when people do a round of applause, like it's that level of like the glass is all over the place.
And he has to do that because standing on a table, he's the same height as everyone in the party.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. He's really like hurting for not being able to climb something bigger and more impressive. He looks at the statue, but is like, that's probably going to get me shot. So I'm not going to touch that. He says, "Listen, everyone. Hi, hello. I hope you're enjoying the party. I appreciate all of you bringing your such wonderful outfits and seeming to have such a great time. And I hope you've all been pleasantly surprised by the surprise styling." And there's some general muttering. People were really ready to shit on him for paper mache and are very disappointed. You can see Venom Blight is just like full arms crossed, glowering. And he says, the time has come to move on with the evening's events. We have a very special spectacle in the name of the king. And of course, we will be unveiling our art. So if everyone could please make their way out to the front lawn, grab a fresh drink. I understand it's going to be excellent. And he just kind of taps his micro bead and says, my Lord Van Houten, your presence is requested out here for the murdering.
Yes, well, I'll be on my way shortly.
Yeah, great. Okay, sounds good. Okay, great. He throws his hands back up and says, all right, everyone, so grab a drink, grab a seat somewhere near the maze, and I guess it's time for the main event.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features the voices of players Ryan LaPlante, Tyler Hewitt, Laura Hamstra, and Del Borovic, alongside Game Master Tom McGee. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com. That's DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Horde by Megan McDuffie, and our ad breaks use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR. All of their music is available at freemusicarchive.org. For all things Dum Dums and Dice, including merchandise and how to join our Patreon, you can visit dumdumdice.com or find us on social media at dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Squishy Werewolf, Remy Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, Shulzari, The Long Family, Jordan Oliver, Richard Wright, Brittany Fenwick, Alex Parr, Old Man Mojo, Dragonfly, The Body Barrelers, Megan Werner, A Man Out of Time, Curtis at FingerTechRobotics.com, Panda24NN, Shendra D, Your Homeboy Bones, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.